Today we're doing something different. We're going to speed solve an SAT math non-calculator section. Before I get started, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. I mean, it's just a little red button, but it can go a really long way towards supporting the channel. Okay, so the point of this video isn't to just run through these problems, but to prove that you don't need to know really advanced math, just use the most straightforward solutions, which I'll explain along the way. So let's get started. The first problem here, we've got a painter painting N walls with a fee NKLH. N is the number of walls, K is a constant with units of dollars per square foot, L is the length of each wall in feet, H is the height. Expensive, that only has anything to do with dollars, and K is the only constant here with dollars in it, so we know that that's the only thing that's going to change, so we know our answer is C. Just divide both sides by 3, so R is equal to 6, then 6R plus 3, so 6 times 6 plus 3 is 39. Our answer is D. Next question. Which of the following is equal to a to the 2 over 3 for all values of a? So the SAT loves to ask questions like this with all these weird exponents. So we can rewrite this as a squared to the 1 by 3. Remember, we can use the product rule and it'd become a to the 2 by 3, but we'll leave it like this for now. So then when we see this with a to the 1 by 3, we know that we can use that as a square root, right? Because square root of a is just a to the 1/2. So the same logic here. The cube root of a squared is what this simplifies to, so that's D. Number 4, the number of states that joined the United States between 1776 and 1849 is twice the number of states that joined between 1850 and 1900. If 30 states joined between that first period and X states joined between the second, which of the following is true? So we know that the 30 states in that first period is twice the number in the second period, so we know this is 15. So we know X is 15 because that is the second period. And so we just have to find an equation that makes sense. So 30 times X is equal to 2. That can't be right. 2X equals 13. That looks like it's right. X over 2, 15 over 2 is not equal to 30. 15 plus 30 is not equal to 2. We know our answer is B. Okay, number 5. 5 over x equals 15 over x plus 20. Find the value of x over 5. Here, I think we can just solve for x pretty easily. We multiply both sides by x times x plus 20. We're going to multiply both sides by that to cancel stuff out from the denominator. So 5 over x times this would give you 5 times x plus 20 is equal to, then the x plus 20 would cancel out on this side. So 15x, so you're left with 5x plus 100. 100 is equal to 15x. So x is equal to 10 because 10x equals 100. So our answer is A. But wait, no it isn't. It's x over 5, which is 10 over 5. I didn't read the question. X over 5. So we've solved for x. So 10 over 5 is equal to 2, and our answer is C. Next question. 2x minus 3y equals negative 14. 3x minus 2y is equal to negative 6, and we want to find what x minus y is. So here's another time saver problem. All we got to do is add these two equations together because we see 2's and 3's. So we got to try to make that into 1's. So if we add these, we can get a coefficient for x and a coefficient of y that are the same and hopefully divide. So let's see what happens when we add these two equations. We got 5x minus 5y equals negative 20. And we want to solve for x minus y. We see we've got an x minus y here. So all we got to do is divide both sides by 5, and we're left with x minus y equals negative 4, because those coefficients cancel out, right? So our answer is C. Number 7, we're given a function f. It's defined by a polynomial. Some values of x and f of x are shown in this table. Which of the following has to be a factor of f of x? Okay, we know that if x minus b is a factor of x, then f of b must equal 0. And based on this table, only f of 4 is 0. We can see that right there. So we know that x minus 4, because the b would be the 4. So we know that x minus 4 has to be the answer to our problem. We know it's C, and we can move on. Number 8, the line y equals kx plus 4, where k is a constant, is graphed in the xy plane. If the line contains the point c comma d, where c is not equal to 0 and d is not equal to 0, what's that slope of that line? They gave us the line in slope-intercept form. They gave us y equals kx plus 4. So we know when we write something in slope-intercept form, it's in the form y equals mx plus b. and m is the slope in the equation. So we know that k has to be the slope because we can see that's the m in our equation. However, it also gives us a point that we can substitute in. We see c comma d. The c would be the x term, the d is the y term. So we can put that into our equation, y equals mx plus b, and solve. So let's do that. The d goes in for y, m we know is k times c plus 4. And all we got to do here is solve for k, solve for the slope. So we know that k is equal to d minus 4 the whole over c, and we see that as our answer of A. I'm going to switch colors now because I'm sick of green. Number 9, kx minus 3y equals 4, and we're given that 4x minus 5y equals 7, and basically they just want to find what value of k will give the system of equations no solution. So the SAT loves to ask problems like these. Essentially, you just got to make the ratios the same. The ratio of the coefficients of x has to be the same as the ratio of coefficients of y. Basically, all we need to do is make this over this equal to 3 over 5. So k over 4 is equal to negative 3 over negative 5. Multiply the 4 over, we get negative 12 over negative 5, or 12 over 5, and we see our answer is A. Number 10, in the xy plane, the parabola with the equation y equals x minus 11 squared intersects y equals 25 at 2 points, and they want us to find the distance between those 2 points. So we know that y equals 25, so we can substitute that into the equation, and we're given 25 is equal to x minus 11 squared. That's an x. So then we take the square root of both sides. X minus 11 is equal to, you have to be careful here, it's 5 and negative 5. So x is equal to, when we add 11 to both of these things, we get 16 and what, 6. Okay. And we know that both of these points have a y coordinate of 25 because they're intersecting on the line y equals 25. So we know that the distance between them, you can just subtract the 2 and you get 16 minus 6 is equal to 10. And our answer is A. Number 11, we're just given 3 lines that are intersecting. We've got a bunch of angles in between, and they want us to find which of these statements are true. If x equals z, y equals w, or if z equals t. So we know that y and u are vertical angles. We know any two things opposite each other, say w and z, or x and t, y and u, they're all vertical angles. That means pairwise, they're all equal. So y is equal to u, w is equal to z, and x is equal to t, because they're all straight lines. If we know y equals u, then we can just substitute that in here. We get x plus u is equal to u plus w. So we know that x equals w. Also, because w and z are vertical angles, they are also equal. So by the transitive property, x is equal to z because w is equal to z. Boop, boop. So we know number 1 has to be true. Equation number 2 is that y is equal to w. That does not have to be true because they're not vertical angles. So it doesn't need to be true, although it can be true. Now our final statement is that z is equal to t. So we know that xyz is 180 degrees. That's a straight line. This is 180 degrees. So x plus y plus z equals 180. Let me clear some of this stuff up. Okay, so x plus y plus z equals 180. W plus u plus t is also 180. That's on the other side. Oops, that's on the other side. So we know that x plus y plus z is equal to w plus u plus t. And so when we subtract the sides from the given equation, we're given x plus y equals u plus w. So x plus y is equal to u plus w. We subtract these two equations. Then this and this cancels. You're left with z is equal to t. So we know that 3 has to be true. So our answers 1 and 3, or B. So we're given a parabola and its vertex is c comma d, and we want to know which of the following is equal to d. So the first thing we do with this parabola thing is find its roots. So the roots are where it intersects the y-axis. That would be where this thing is equal to 0 and this thing is equal to 0. So we know that the roots would be negative 4 comma 0 and 2 comma 0. Now with those roots, we know that the x-coordinate of the vertex will have to be halfway between those two. So we know halfway between these two values is the average of the two. So the average of negative 4 and 2 is negative 1. And the y-coordinate we don't know yet, but we do know this is the value of C. But that doesn't help us. We want to know what the value of D is. So let's substitute in -1 as our x value to find the vertex. So what happens when you do a, I'm going to switch over here, a times -1 minus 2 times -1 plus 4. And that should give us our y value of D. So when we substitute this in, a times -3 times, what is that, 4 minus 1 is 3. So we're left with -9a, -9a. Number 13 is just disgusting. We're given this equation with weird numerators, denominators. There's like 2 different variables and they're all 2-digit numbers. So let's try to simplify this as much as we can. We're going to multiply both sides by ax minus 2. What does that do? That gets rid of the denominator. So ax minus 2 on this side will just cancel out with this thing. And we're left with what's in the numerator. So let's go ahead and write that down. Let's continue simplifying this out. The -8x minus 3 is multiplied by the ax minus 2. And then this ax minus 2 cancels out and we're left with -53. But essentially all this junk here and all this junk doesn't really matter at all. Actually, there is an a in there, but it doesn't really matter. All we really need to care about is that there's one x squared term here and one x squared term here. And it's so much cleaner now. We see 24x squared is equal to -8ax squared. So the x squares cancel. The a has to be equal to -3 because -8 times -3 is equal to 24. Our answer is B. 14. What are the solutions to this quadratic equation? So there's always just one of these in every SAT math, but you just have to use the quadratic formula and plug and chug. B is equal to 12 here, A is equal to 3, and C is equal to 6. I will spare you all the algebra, but it's going to turn out as -2 plus or minus the square root of 2. Our answer is A. Okay, number 15, we're given the conversion for Fahrenheit to Celsius. C equals 5/9 times F minus 32, and we're trying to figure out which of these things are true. So if we graph C against F, then the slope of that line is equal to 5/9 degrees Celsius over degrees Fahrenheit, to be specific with units. And that just means for every 1 degree increase in Fahrenheit, the increase is 5/9 degrees in Celsius. And this makes sense because it's essentially in the slope, or the equation is essentially in the form y equals mx plus b. So we know that an increase of 1 degree Fahrenheit is an increase of 5/9 degrees Celsius. And that is exactly what is said in number 1, so we know that that one is true for sure. Next question, it kind of flips it. A temperature increase of 1 degree Celsius is equivalent to a temperature increase of 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So essentially we just have to flip 5 over 9. That would become 9 over 5, which is equal to 1.8. So we see that this is also true because we flip both the Celsius and Fahrenheit, and we're flipping 5 over 9 to 9 over 5. Okay, number 3. A temperature increase of 5/9 degrees Fahrenheit is equivalent to a temperature increase of 1 degree Celsius. That's not true because a temperature increase of 9/5 degrees Fahrenheit, not 5 over 9 degrees Fahrenheit, is equal to a temperature increase of 1 degree. Okay, number 3. A temperature increase of 5/9 degrees Fahrenheit is equivalent to a temperature increase of 1 degree Celsius. We know that that's not true because a temperature increase of 9/5 degrees Fahrenheit, not 5/9 degrees Fahrenheit, is equivalent to a temperature increase of 1 degree Celsius. 9/5 Fahrenheit, I'm just going to write that down here for clarification. So we know that this one isn't true. Only 1 and 2 are correct, so we know the answer is D. Alternatively, we didn't even have to look at part number 3. We could have just seen 1 and 2 is right, and then looked at our answer choices and seen that that was the only possible option. All right, so we're finished with the multiple choice, and now we're into these grid-in questions. I'm just going to solve these as answers and not actually bubble those things in. The equation here will be expanded, and I've switched colors again. So x to the 5th minus 5x cubed. And then we can switch this 4x to the side, plus 4x is equal to 0. So we can factor this out. We get x times x to the 4th. And then we know that this can also be factored. I'm going to do it up here because I'm running out of space. So we can factor this further, but I think it's much easier to solve just from here. So we just need any one of these 3 subdivisions to be equal to 0. That x could be 0. I'm going to list all our possible things here. X could be 0. X could be 1. Because x squared minus 1 is equal to 0. Then we have to see the negative side of that. So -1 is possible too. X squared minus 4 is equal to 0 here. So x could be 2 or -2. Now, they're asking for one possible solution, but we have to be careful since it's given that x is greater than 0. So let's just pick any of these that are greater than 0. 0 is not greater than 0. 1 is. -1 is not greater than 0. 2 works, -2 doesn't work. So you can give either 1 or 2 as your answer. Okay, next question. If 7 over 9x minus 4 over 9x equals 1/4 plus 5/12, then this one is to solve. So there's only one possible solution here since there's one x. So let's go ahead and do this. You could multiply everything by 36 since that's the least common multiple of everything in the denominator, but I think there's an easier way to doing this. You see the side is 7/9 x minus 4/9 x, and those have the same denominator. So let's just go ahead and subtract those. It becomes 3/9 x, right? So this becomes x over 3 since we're simplifying this is equal to 3/12 plus 5/12 is 8 over 12. If x over 3 is equal to 2 over 3, we know that x is equal to 2. Okay, so we're given these two isosceles triangles, and if 180 minus z equals 2y and y equals 75, find x. So let's just go ahead and play with these equations for now. We've got, 180 minus z equals 2y. Let's plug in the y here. So z is equal to 180 minus 150 or 30. We know what x is, and we know that this is an isosceles triangle. So I'm going to redraw this triangle here with z. We've got the two equal sides. So let's solve for what one of these angles is. Because z is 30, we know that 180 minus 30 divided by 2 gives us one of the base angles, because 180 minus 30 is the sum of those two things. So this would be 75, this would be 75. You can see that this is 75. This is also 75. This is really hard to draw. But we know that because this is a straight line, x has to be 180 minus 75, which is 115 degrees. So this is pretty straightforward. We just set up a system of equations. Let's say h is the number of calories in a hamburger, and f is the number of calories in a fry. So let's set up the system of equations. And we also know that h has 50 more calories than an order of fries, so h is equal to f plus 50. So let's go ahead and substitute this in. So 2f plus 3f plus 100 is equal to 1700. And the question is asking how many calories does a hamburger have. So we know that a hamburger has 50 more calories than an order of fries. So this plus 50 would give us 370 for our calories in a hamburger. So our final question is a geometry question. In triangle ABC, the measure of B is 90, BC is 16, AC is 20. Let's go ahead and draw this out. We know it's a right triangle because one of the angles is 90 degrees. So this one is C. We're going to call BC is equal to 16 and AC is equal to 20. Basic Pythagorean theorem to find what AB is. So we know that AB is equal to 20 squared, the square root of 20 squared minus 16 squared, which would give us 12. If you're familiar with Pythagorean theorem or Pythagorean triples, you'd have already known 12, 16, 20 is a common right triangle. Then the rest of it is that triangle DEF is similar to triangle ABC, and they want us to find what is the value sine of f. Well, sine is all about ratios, so it doesn't really matter what the exact side lengths of triangle DEF would be, but we know that the ratio would be the same because the triangles are similar. So we just do opposite over hypotenuse. So we know that this angle is f because it's right there. So the opposite is 12 over hypotenuse is 20. So our answer is 12 over 20, but that simplifies to 3/5.